Well, hello again. This is part three of our course on baptism. And what I want to talk about today is discovering our membership, discovering life in the body of Christ. So, being part of a church, what's that all about? So, I know attending church doesn't seem to be all that popular these days. Attendance rates are falling in a lot of churches across Australia, and not that there are any less baptisms happening, so I'm not exactly sure what's happening there. And I see a lot of people who have their child baptised, but then we never see them in church, and it's a concerning trend. And I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding of what church is and what faith is. So I want to raise a few questions there, and perhaps we can think about that together as to what's going on here and what our expectations are. So some people tend to say that they, don't want to attend church. It's such a chore and all of that kind of thing. Let's just put that aside for a moment and have a think about what attending church is and what it does for us. The Bible calls us to gather together and to not neglect the gathering together, because that's not a safe thing to do for the Christian. So I just want to raise some possibilities here that we can explore together. When we attend church, we're becoming involved with the body of Christ, so a Christian community in the town. We name ourselves as one of them. We show ourselves to be in solidarity with other Christians around the town, and that's important. That's a good start, and there's a number of things there. Firstly, it's a good habit to get into. It's a habit just like anything. Going shopping on a Friday afternoon or whatever you do. It's a habit that we get into. In community, we learn faith. In community, we learn what Christianity is about. You can't learn Christianity from a book, because it's not a philosophy, it's not a knowledge, it's a relationship. And you can't be in a relationship on your own. So I'll emphasize that again. Christianity is not a philosophy. It's not a collection of knowledge. It's not a belief system. It's a relationship. It's a relationship with Christ, and it's a relationship with the church. It's a relationship with other people who also are Christian. So you can't do Christianity alone. It doesn't work that way. We are baptized into community. So people in community can rub us up the wrong way. People in church will teach you the faith, even if by negative example. Even if you see someone and you're irritated by someone and you think, yeah, that's not being a Christian, at least you know that. You know what not to copy. And so even that can be helpful. It's also a lesson in forgiveness. Forgiveness is one thing we need. But if we we might see someone who is struggling in life, and we may have the opportunity to help them. That too is a wonderful opportunity and a growth in faith. You can't do that alone. Now, here's the thing, bringing kids to church. I've been there, had 4 kids, all around the 2 years apart. I know the marathon that it can be sometime. It can be you've got to get them out of bed on a Sunday morning. You've got to convince them it's a good idea. Then you have to try and get there on time. But it's worth it. It's worth every bit of the frustration, every bit of the glare, every tantrum and noisy trip to church. Why? Because through this, they're going to grow in their attendance. They're going to grow in their faith in a way that they can't anywhere else. It's no secret that going to church is good for you. Your mum will tell you that, as will a whole stack of scientists from a physical, spiritual, social and mental standpoint. 82% of 74 studies report a positive association between religious activity and one's sense of social support. So 61% of 413 studies report lower rates of depression or faster recovery from depression in religious individuals. But for these benefits to take effect, you got to turn up and you got to do it regularly. So, what's so good about it? Apart from the obvious, relationship with Christ thing that's going on, which is enormous benefits for today, tomorrow and eternity, there is the character building. The child grows up with a sense of community. This group of 50 to 100 people have his or her back, no matter what happens. Children grow up knowing that it's not just them, not just mum and dad, and not just a few friends, but a whole church which stands ready to help them, behind them, through whatever life may throw at them. Then there's discipline. It's helpful to have an ongoing weekly commitment. There's social development. Young people have ongoing practice at social settings, like with older people, with other young people, with people they disagree with people who are grumpy. They have these ongoing relationships. You need to hang around afterwards for the fellowship time. See, this practice equips them for a world full of all sorts of people. Even horrible people have something to offer here. They teach forgiveness, provide the opportunity to getting better at it. Children get to learn and practice how to relate with a broad range of people. These things can be picked up long before they understand the sermon. And they can learn that great art of selflessness. In church, we're constantly being encouraged to help others. We're shown how, and there are some activities particularly geared to helping others. It's great skill and sets people up for healthy living. It's not healthy just to look out for number one. Leaving it until they're older doesn't work. These things are best learnt from a young age. And then we get to the content, right? The messages and the structure of the church is designed to give ongoing drip feeding of wisdom, which provides a firm foundation for life. The kids may not be listening to the sermon, but they'll get bits of it, and eventually it sinks in. Even if the preacher's second rate or third rate, there'll be an ongoing input of wisdom into young lives, providing inspiration and foundation building. Even in your most traditional, basic, may I say even boring church service, which just, the stand-up, sit-down liturgy, things like that, that's totally socially irrelevant. Kids hear confession and absolution. They hear Bible readings. They see these hymns and songs which speak the faith and teach the faith. And kids get it. They grow in it. You're not going to learn these things anywhere else. You can't grow this way anywhere else. So give it a go. Develop the practice of going to church. Let me tell you, the first 3 or 4 times are going to be the hardest, right? But when kids understand that this is just what we do on a Sunday morning, the arguments drop away, they begin to accept it, and they begin to enjoy it. So see you in church with the kids. There's coffee afterwards, and bickies for the kids. Great time to chat. See you there. God bless.